You tell me, what did you see last night?
Well, I saw, Hugh, history obviously happening in front of us, just something that I think a political moment that none of us are ever going to forget. I saw something that I think is really unprecedented since he entered the world of politics, which is that Donald Trump took a debate stage last night, and when he left it, his own performance wasn't the top story. Every debate that he's participated in, his performance, one way or the other, has been the top story, and it was not last night. And what else I saw was an indictment of our terrible media collective on a national scale that I think we should focus on and not allow them to forget, which is that the reason that Joe Biden was even able to be on that stage is because they've been lying to us about him for the last year and a half. And they have been doing so at the behest of a White House that I frankly think has become totally inured. They have really, become, maybe it's the frog boiling in the kettle or something along those lines. But I think that the White House really didn't believe that Joe was as bad as he is. On some level, it wasn't just spin. I think it was them convincing themselves, oh, he's okay. He can still do this. He can still hang around. I don't think it was just, Jill, insisting that he run for re-election or something like that. And instead, what we got to see last night, I think, was someone who should be anywhere other than in the Oval Office right now. Forget 4 years, after this election. Right now, this guy can't do the job. He can't be trusted to do the job. And ironically, because this was obviously something that they thought was going to be playing in their favor, the rules that they installed in the debate and the way that it was run ended up assisting the former president in ways that allowed Joe Biden to just wrap himself in knots in front of us, failing to finish questions, losing his train of thought even in his opening section. And there's really nothing to say other than the panic that is going on in Democratic circles right now at the highest levels, among members of Congress, among their donor class, and among the activists who are, the biggest people within their party. That is something that they should turn around and they should point their fingers at CNN and at MSNBC and at all of the other, different major figures they've been listening to in the media for the last year and a half. Because if they had gotten an honest depiction of his quality of health, his quality of mind, then they never would have allowed him to get this far along in the process. They would have stood up and said, no, it's time for Joe to step away a year ago. And that's something that didn't happen because the media lied to us.
Ben Domenech, the number of knives that were put into Joe Biden's back last night after his disastrous debate performance by Kate Bedingfield, his former comms director, by Jen Psaki, by Joy Reid, by Martha Raddatz, by Kristen Welker, by Chuck Todd. It was like Caesar, right? Et tu, Joy, then stumbled Joey. It was something to behold. I played a lot. I will have to do a special podcast for the universe, the Grand Old Pod, to put more on. And Dwayne's going to have to do a special podcast this afternoon for Dwayne's World because everybody turned on him and just tore him apart. So the question becomes, and I've done a screenshot over on my X account of these headlines. Washington Post, Biden's performance halting, meandering, and unnerving for Democrats. That's Matt Visor and Marianne Levine. In Peter Baker, New York Times, a fumbling performance and a panicking party. President Biden's shaky, halting debate performance as Democrats talking about replacing him on the ticket. Wall Street Journal, Aaron Zitner, Catherine Lucy, Annie Linsky, Andrew Rascusia. Democrats privately discussed replacing Biden on presidential ticket. Hardly private. In the Financial Times, they've got Democrats panic as Biden stumbles in bad-tempered debate with Trump. And then from the Times of Israel, the Financial Times abroad, last one, Jacob McGeed, president's halting debate showing rattles Dems. Does Joe Biden get nominated by this party, Ben Domenech?
Well, the analysis that I would actually direct people to, and I think that this is, an example of someone who has a bit more of a remove from the intelligentsia of the Democratic Party, is Nate Silver this morning, who just is, completely definitive in saying Joe Biden has to drop out. And he runs through all the reasons that he has to drop out on a statistical basis. One thing that he pointed out, which I had forgotten, was that in none of the debates that Donald Trump has ever participated on the presidential scale against Hillary Clinton or against Joe Biden has he ever been judged the winner. Now, we know for a fact that he did win some of those debates, but the point is that they do these flash polls, and he is not deemed, the winner. And he won 67 to 33% in CNN's flash poll last night. And they were trying to spin it. Caitlin Collins was still trying to spin it.
There's one holdout. Someone's
Yeah.
still holed up in the house trying to shoot their way out.
Yeah. But I think the point is this. It's actually worse than I think the media understands quite. Because the people who are not totally in the political realm, and you and I think, know a lot of them, are the people who started paying attention just about right now.
Yeah, I watched with my brother-in-law and my wife last night, my sister-in-law, and they were stunned. My wife could not stomach it. She does not like seeing someone fall apart in public, and she left. She said,
and that's what I think. And I think that actually speaks for a vast majority of not just the country, but of independent, nonpartisan voters, the swing voters who, make up the core of this country. So I think they're going to see a collapse that is much worse than anything we've seen before. And so to me, the one thing that actually makes that possible is if that collapse happens, is if there is such a huge drop in terms of his numbers. If you see, people running over to RFK or, basically saying, I just can't vote for this guy, and we have a real problem here in the country, and saying that kind of thing, I can't even watch this. It makes me want to puke. I think that's the only thing that's going to force them to, have any kind of sit-down conversation that involves people as big as Barack Obama himself, Bill Clinton himself, saying, for the good of the party, you have to step away.
Last night, I got to say, break in, Ben. Last night, before I did a pre-show with Mike Gallagher, we talked to former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and we talked to Congressman Michael Waltz, and we talked to Senator Tom Cotton. Michael Waltz is from Florida, so he can't be the VP. But if you put Mike Pompeo or Tom Cotton on the stage with Kamala Harris right now, calm, serious, experienced. You put Doug Burgum on the stage right now, it's over because Kamala Harris has to be their nominee. And I want that debate with Kamala Harris. Yeah. So if I were Donald Trump, I would name my vice president today, and I would name a calm, experienced, lethal debater. That's all I care about right now, to get Harris on the stage and put her on the record, because I think she's going to be the nominee. So I wanted to give you a minute and a half here. Do you think she's going to be the nominee? I don't know how the Democrats could possibly win if they replace her. They'll lose the black female vote, which is their strongest demographic.
Hugh, I don't think that we can, speak today without any kind of, honesty, except saying she's a likelier nominee today. Now that, than Joe Biden. Just understanding that the pressure that's going to be exacted here, and you and I both know that the Democratic Party behaves differently than the Republican Party.
Oh, Torricelli, the Torricelli option.
Exactly.
Throw him overboard.
Exactly.
He's going to lose. Yeah. Break the law and throw him off the ticket.
Exactly. That's the way that they do things. It's not the way Republicans do things, and frankly, I think that this is, speaking to you this morning, I think it's likelier than ever that she will be the nominee. And I think one thing that we have to evaluate, in the circumstances, we've actually seen kind of this uptick in talking about how good she's been performing in terms of, she was at all these Pride events over the last month. She's gotten, more of a media glow up after, people have been sort of, skeptical about her and talking about her staffing problems and things like that. I think that is going to become, a major pressure point. And to be honest, considering how much his personal opinion ratings have fallen off, a table in terms of Biden, they can make the argument that she is actually more popular than him. And so that, that's not something that, says that she's popular. It just is, she's not as bad as he is. And I think that makes it far more likely that they're going to step forward and say, look, we've got to move on, set the precedent, et cetera. But Joe Biden has to really agree to do that.
Agree.
And I don't know that he will. I just don't know that he will.
But, Ben, I got to land the point. Who does Donald Trump name as his vice president? When should he do it? You got like 30 seconds.
I think that you're completely right. I think he should do it, this week. And I think that he should name someone who's rock solid and unimpeachable in terms of their intelligence. And I think Mike Pompeo would be a great idea, in terms of just, look, the contrast couldn't be greater.